Okay, so first question. Kate Burke, your potential seatmate, has started a conversation about universal child care in Spokane. While specifics aren't there yet, do you think the city could do more to fund child care? Tim, I'll start with you on that one.
Okay, child care. Well, my wife and I happen to operate one, and over the years, the more government has gotten involved with child care, the more expensive it's become, the more scarce it's become. Regulations have quadrupled. When we started our child care, there was 550 child cares like ours in the Spokane area, which meant lots of choices, options for parents, where they could find child care close to work. Because of state government, now there's only 96. So I think that the state-led effort so far has damaged the industry and options for parents, and I think city government would exacerbate the problem.
Michael?
Yeah, I think especially in some of our more impoverished areas, I think there are some things we can do. Maybe not the city per se, but perhaps more the state level, but funding some early learning type programs to help with kind of that earlier age, 3 to 5, pre-kindergarten time period. And I think that would help a lot with early intervention. We have a lot of problems with homelessness, obviously, with our students in our schools, especially in some of our more poor neighborhoods. And so I think that would be one thing we could look at. The other thing would be, maybe incentivizing local employers to provide maybe some sort of daycare options for their employees. I think that's something we could look at. But as far as the city itself paying for universal daycare or something like that, it's just not possible, and it's really not a role for the city to take on. I mean, we are struggling to pay for law enforcement and really important priorities like that as it is.
So Mike Fagan, the person you both are running to replace, he's been very supportive of a lot of Tim Eyman initiatives, including 976. This could potentially negatively affect one of the biggest projects in your district, the North-South Freeway, or other roads. Do you plan to vote for this? Why or why not?
Honestly, I'm still undecided. I am truly concerned about the impacts to the $2 to $3 million we take in annually from our TBD dollars. I'm not a big fan of TBDs in general, but I think the dollars are really necessary because of how bad our roads are right now, and I'm not sure that we can afford to simply lose those dollars right this moment. And so I'm really concerned that there's not anything in the initiative that would plan for maybe delaying implementation to make sure that local communities can plan for some of these expenditures or revenues that may be lost. Also, as far as the North-South Freeway goes, it's not clear exactly that it would impact the North-South Freeway. That would really come back to the legislature to determine if that's where they're going to cut to backfill as a result of the initiative passing. But we have the Senate Majority Leader in the 3rd Legislative District, and I would certainly be doing everything I could to be working with him if this does pass to make sure that that doesn't happen to our community, that we do maintain those dollars. But at this point, I am still undecided, trying to weigh the options and make a decision. This is really a tough one, really is.
So I don't know how to answer all the questions because I think there's misinformation out there. My understanding is that a lot of our tab fees are going to things other than transportation projects, and it's my understanding that the last gas tax that was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor had a package in there to complete the North-South Freeway, so I'm not sure it would have an effect or not, but it would be worth looking further into.
So do you plan to vote yes or no vote on that?
I think I'll look further into it.
So you're both undecided.
The other thing I would add, if I can, is I think the reason this has come about is because of how I think, quite frankly, fiscally irresponsible Sound Transit on the west side has been. And so, again, it's something at the state level to look at, but perhaps we need to start looking at regionalizing some of these programs to make sure that if bad decisions are made on the west side, it's not going to have adverse impacts on Eastern Washington.
Yeah, I can actually agree on that issue because I believe it was driven by the west side. ST3, where people were paying taxes on MSRP of their vehicles, and if you've bought vehicles out there and went to the DMV, no one pays MSRP, and so the people in that area are negatively affected or paying upwards of $1,000, $1,500 to license their vehicles, where we might be paying less than half that. So I think that is what's driving it.
Okay, so let's pretend for a moment that I'm a liberal who voted for Kate Burke in 2017. How do you convince me, the liberal voter in this election, to support you? Tim, I'll start with you on this one.
I'm just a guy that lives in the district. I care about the district. I've worked with children and families for 2 decades in our current location, and I care about their future. And I don't think road conditions are discriminatory based upon your political ideology. I think it damages your cars, it hurts the environment, and it causes long-term damage to the roadbed to not have well-maintained roads. I think everybody wants public safety, and when they're in danger, they want the safety equipment to arrive, whether it's fire or police, and I think those are issues that we need to work on and improve.
Yeah, first of all, it's a nonpartisan race, so I mean everybody should keep that in mind. But I think it's important to note that I am going to be an unabashed champion of the district. I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that District 1, Northeast Spokane, gets the resources it deserves, that we're getting the money for law enforcement, that we're getting the law enforcement presence, that we are investing in prioritizing our streets, especially our residential and our minor arterials that don't get the attention paid to them. I think that's really, really critical. And I think folks that are out there, regardless of who they voted for 2 years ago or 4 years ago in my district, I think that's what needs to happen. We need to upend the status quo and finally start fighting for Northeast Spokane, and that's what I'm going to do.
So one topic that's been a pretty big issue in this election, homelessness. So it appears likely the city's probably going to lease and not buy a shelter this year. But in the future, if you were elected, would you support buying a new shelter?
Is this for me?
I think.
First of all, I think if you're going to site a shelter, it can't be in a residential or a commercial area. It just can't. We can't provide the security that's required. We can't mitigate some of those unfortunate things that happen when you site these shelters, as we've seen kind of around the area downtown. And so I think that's something we have to consider. I like the idea of smaller shelters, more spread out across the region. We need to work with our regional partners at the county and the valley to make sure that they're all kind of participating in this effort as well. That's really, really key. And then most of all, we need to make sure that we're actually addressing the issues that are at hand and making sure that folks who are experiencing homelessness are getting from the street to their feet. That's the key here. Anything we do that keeps them on the street, that doesn't enable them to get back on their feet, is not good for the community. It's not good for them. And we've seen at least a 33% increase since 2016 in numbers, and that has to be addressed. It's just not sustainable for our community.
So would you support, leasing or buying, though, in the future if you were elected? Is that something that you would vote for, is buying a new shelter?
Well, you got to look at what's cost effective. I mean, that's the key, right? I mean, we look how much money is budgeted for the operating expenses for the proposed shelter. It just is a large amount of money that doesn't seem like it's maybe the most fiscally responsible way of spending those dollars. I think we should, review those contracts, make sure that they are the most cost-effective possible when we're either buying or leasing or offering a contract to a service provider.
So is that kind of in the future as you study it more? Or is that sort of that? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, every instance is different. I mean, you might lease in one place or buy in another, and I mean, you just don't know until you're analyzing the property and the location of where you're putting it. I wouldn't say we should lease or we should buy. I would say we should have to look at the costs and make a decision.
I know that we can't continue to do what we're doing. It costs way too much money. I think it was $22 million spent over the last 2 years. We're spending somewhere around $60,000 to $80,000 per homeless individual. And in my district, downtown, we see average income in the census of $25,000 for median income. Most of Northeast Spokane, $35,000 a year. If it costs $60,000 to $80,000 a year per person experiencing homelessness, we're doing something wrong. So I think that this emergency management is costing us a fortune, to where we have to take what's available, and then as Michael said, we're placing them in places where it's not good for the people being served and it's not good for the community. Business districts are zoned, residential districts are zoned, industrial districts are zoned. Why does the city not have zoning for homeless shelters and other service providers like that? So I think we need to look more into a place that it's good for the individuals to be. The other thing is that I think we got to separate the populations. I've heard stories about people that are experiencing mental illness that are being victimized by the other portion of the population, and I think we need to keep those people safe and separated so that they're not victimized, and I think we can do it more cost effective. You look at these steel structures that are being built by churches and nonprofits around the county, and I think that we could provide a facility like that on government-owned property and save money.
All right, thank you. It's time for audience questions. Do we have any questions? We've got one.
Thank
right
you for
here.
sticking around this late, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Jim Dawson, and I'm curious if you two are concerned at all about developers and development interests spending a record amount trying to buy these elections, as it's an industry that could benefit the most from City Council changing their decisions, as obviously land use and development subsidies and other things are one of the primary purviews of the city. And so I'm just curious if you're concerned about the record amounts of money that developers are spending.
Well, I would say, as somebody who is the former government affairs director for the home builders and somebody who was awarded the Partner of the Year award by the Realtors in 2016, I'm proud of the support that they're giving me. I mean, I think these are the folks that build our homes, that sell our homes. These are the folks that help dreams come true. I don't have a problem with that. And I think, quite frankly, voters are going to make up their own minds. They're going to look at all the information presented to them. They're going to look at all sides, and they're going to make a decision. And I think when you suggest that somebody's buying an election, you're really saying that voters don't have the intelligence to make decisions for themselves. And I really get frustrated when I hear that argument. I don't think that that's true at all. People can make good decisions. They can analyze all the facts and decide who to vote for once they get all the data in front of them.
Well, I have a little different view. In my studies of history, I can go all the way back to George Washington and his farewell address of 1789, and he warned future Americans about factions, about parties, and about special interests buying your representation. And we're in a different kind of world now, and things have changed, and I'm currently the only candidate that will be on the ballot in the city of Spokane that has not sought out special interest money, because I just want to represent the people in my district. I think developers can do well when people are represented. I think that workers can do well when people are represented. I think elections need to be free and fair, and that's what we should be working towards as a nation, and probably take some of the money out of it. I think that advertising firms sure like it.
All right, thank you. Do we have another question? Yes.
My name's Angela. I was just curious about your understanding of what the actual cause of the water contamination at the end of July, and any involvement that you had in providing clean water to Hilliard residents.
Are you talking about the contamination with the contractor that backflowed the sod issue? Yeah, no, because I don't have the evidence of what actually happened there. My understanding is that it was, what do they call it? Hydroseed. It was a hydroseed company. There was no backflow valve that was put into place. That's my understanding of the situation. And I feel for that position. I live on the other side of the abyss. I mean, the north-south freeway. The construction process was not good for my neighborhood. Lots of car accidents. In fact, I think it was day before yesterday, my water got shut off with less than 24 hours notice. And, it causes people trouble when the city's not engaged with the citizens. And we got that less than 24 hours notice, but it didn't warn people that have like ice makers for freezers and to flush the system, and the water's coming out brown at first. So I think better engagement with the city and helping citizens with water issues such as what happened in Hilliard would be good. And it's my understanding that there's still some people that are still using bottled water in those neighborhoods because they haven't isolated the problem completely.
Yeah, I would just say I don't know what mechanism failed or who messed up that caused that to happen, but I support putting the locks on the hydrant so it doesn't happen again, and we can figure out a system to make that work for everyone. But I don't know what the exact cause was that failed or what that was, but we should address it, and I think the locks is at least a good first step towards at least preventing this from happening again.
All right, thank you. It's quiz time. Hope you two are ready.
We'll see.
Okay, you know the rules. Ring the bell, you get to answer. How much does it cost to buy a single ride bus fare in Spokane? Oh, that was like a tie.
$1.50?
Ooh, no.
$1.75.
Close, guys. $2.
It's $2 now.
Two entire dollars. Question number 2. Who was the Lilac Queen in 1977?
It wasn't.
Tim.
Wasn't Karen Stratton, was it?
Yes, it was. Okay. So I think she's in the room still here. Question number 3. What's the price tag on the North Spokane corridor? Michael. Broken bell.
1.5 billion total?
$1.5 billion. Yes.
Billion with a B.
You said billion, right?
Yeah, the big one.
The big one. Question 4. In what decade was Hilliard annexed by Spokane? Michael.
1920s.
Yes, 1924 to be exact. Okay, here's a tough one. Use your brain here. Name 5 of the 23 parks in your district. Skate parks, aquatic parks, and golf courses do not count. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking. Who rang that?
Logan Peace Park, Jim Hill Park, Mission Park, Glass Park, and Friendship Park.
Is that, I don't see Glass on here. Is Glass, can I get a confirmation that Glass is a park?
Hey.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
That is the end of the quiz show. Please thank our final candidates of the night, everybody.